All right, welcome all of you to this third session of biostatistics. So, what we are going to look at basically is uh, just 1 minute. So, once again, welcome to this lecture number 3 on biostatistics. So, in this lecture, we are going to look at how we collect data. So we're going to look at data collection methods. So just to review what data is, in our first session, we said that we have what we call a variable. We have a variable, and it is these variables that give us data. Now, when we process this data, we get what we call information. So we can say that data is raw information. So from this, we can now make interpretations, conclusions, and we basically have information. So any characteristic or attribute that can vary, attribute or characteristic, basically any quantity that can vary is what we are calling a variable. Okay. So we say that we have variables that are quantitative or that are qualitative in nature. So in this session, we want to see how do we collect data. So what we need to first understand is that there are two broad categories of data sources. Okay, two types of data sources. So we have one, primary data sources, and then secondary data sources. Then secondary data sources. So what do they really mean? Primary data sources, this is where you who is interested in this data actually goes and collects this data. Okay, you go out there, maybe design a questionnaire, or go and observe or carry out an experiment, and then the data that you collect firsthand as a researcher or as a public health professional is what you call primary data. So here we can interview people and get data from them. We can design an experiment and then collect the data, and then we can also observe what people are doing. Okay, so those are the things that you can do. Okay, and then in secondary data sources, you basically use data that is already collected. Okay, you can use the data from the the census. Okay, you can use data at the hospital data, or from the hospital registry, uh, or uh, using data from the health management information systems. Okay, um, or you can you get data from databases, WHO, UN, whatever database that you can have. Okay, so that is what you call secondary data. Of course, you have to, the things that determine the method, the things that determine the method of data collection that you're going to use. Okay, that means that there you need to look at the nature of data that you want to collect. Nature of data that you want to collect, you need to look at this very critically, and then you also need to see if the data that you really want to collect is it routinely available data. If it is routinely available data, then you perhaps just use secondary data than collecting data afresh, because it could be time. It requires a lot of time, but also it is costly. So if you have that already, then you don't really need to do it again. Just use the database. Unless the quality of the data is what you doubt, then you perhaps will decide to say that let me collect data fresh. So sometimes the consideration basically on whether the data is routine or what we call ad hoc. Data collection is a routine or ad hoc. This is to say that you can set out to collect data that perhaps has not been routinely collected, but it is something pertinent that you want to find out. So that is what we call ad hoc. You want to go and find out what is really happening, and you're doing it out of the usual situations in which you've been collecting your data. So that means that you need to make sure that your data is very important. It's always very important to collect data that you need. You don't need to collect data that you will actually not use. That is not an ethical issue. The other consideration is the ethical matters related to data collection. You have issues to do with what you call privacy, and then issues to do with confidentiality. Now, these are important issues that need to be respected during data collection. So people should consent, they should provide, and you should provide them with a consent form. They should sign the consent form after you have provided all the relevant information about the data that you're going to collect and what you're going to use it for, and the rights that they have in abstaining or withdrawing from the process of data collection. Those are very key aspects. The other thing that I want to explain in detail is the quality of data. You have heard of what we call valid data or invalid data, data that is not reliable, and then issues to do with incomplete data, and then inconsistent data. So that means that you need to make sure that all those parameters are actually fulfilled. So when we talk about validity, we basically refer to the fact that the tool that you're using to collect data is the right one. Okay, it's designed to measure what it is intended to measure. This is the keyword, intended. If you want to measure body temperature, then definitely we expect you to be using a thermometer, an appropriate thermometer. Okay, the appropriate thermometer. So the data that you get from this will be valid, but don't use a blood pressure machine. And then you're saying that this blood pressure machine is the one which measures the blood pressure. That will not give you. This means this is invalid. This is not what the instrument is used for. Okay, so that is to do with validity. Now, reliability as a concept relates to the fact that you need to have data that is consistent. So if one person, if I go and measure someone's blood pressure, okay, and then I get 80 out of okay, let us say 180 out of 90. This is not good. This is high blood pressure. And then the next person comes in. And takes the same. They takes the blood pressure of the same patient, and the person gets 140 out of 60. So that is this is to say that the same tools have been used. You have not changed the blood pressure machine, a cuff, the patient remains in a seated position, and then you get varying. If you get varying values, extremely varying like this, then you have an issue with reliability. Okay, so that is an important aspect that you should take key note of. I'm going to focus on some of the common issues that we actually encounter while collecting data. Let's first look at the first one, which is using the questionnaire, the key issues when using the questionnaire. Questionnaires can contain, actually they are easy to use, they are less costly, so you can get the information very quickly, and they contain what we call open-ended questions, and then what we call closed-ended questions. Okay, so depending on what you are interested in, you need to use the appropriate type of questions for your in your data collection process, or in the process of designing the questionnaire. So that means that your questionnaire has to be very, very, very clear. So clarity is very important. Should be in a very clear language. Okay, and like I said, should only contain questions whose answers you're actually interested in. So should not be vague. It should be very clear. It should be having questions that are similar. Okay, so you don't need to have questions that are not uniform throughout the different questionnaires that you have. You can administer the questionnaire yourself. If that is the case, then you say it is an interviewer questionnaire. If the participant answers the questionnaire themselves, then it is a self-administered questionnaire. Okay, so we come to another practical aspect related to how you can actually conduct interviews. Sometimes you're going to discuss sensitive topics. So that means that you need to be equipped with the proper interviewing techniques so that you can get the information. Sometimes the information can evoke emotions, and then you create kind of distress in a participant. That is not a situation that you would like to be in. So be culturally sensitive to and know how you can ask people. So that means that your communication skills need to be very good, so that you can get the information that you desire. So in summary, we have just noted that we can get data from sources such as census, hospital data, databases, and also we can collect data by interviewing, conducting an experiment or an observation. And we have looked at the usual challenges associated with data, which is that data may be of low quality, and the aspects that are associated with low quality data to do with validity, reliability, incompleteness, inconsistency, and ethical matters related to data collection. Thank you very much for listening.